Yeah. So I think honestly, let's do some questions.
So you mentioned the story group still working with them, and as far as I know, Swtorista is not canon in any way. So I'm curious what that looks like after the Disney acquisition.
So day to day, absolutely nothing changed. Honestly, our process stayed the same. I mean, their teams kind of shifted a little on their side internally. I couldn't speak to it because I don't work over there, but yeah, ultimately we work with, like I said, we work with a lot of the same people reviewing our work, giving us the feedback. You know, they care just as much about what we do and how we represent Star Wars as they do any other Star Wars product. So it's just as important to them that we're telling a good Star Wars story as it is to us that we're telling a great Star Wars story, right? Yeah, so we are part of the Legends canon. So it's kind of its own little subset of everything, right? It's not that it definitely didn't happen. It's just that it didn't definitely happen. At least not the way you think.
So do they still make sure you're consistent with all Legend stuff?
Yeah. Mainly, their first concern is that we're consistent with ourselves, right? Because of course, this game has been in production for a very long time. There have been a lot of different people working on it. Fortunately, I've been there for a really long time, but you know, it's hard to maintain that consistency amongst ourselves with KOTOR, with KOTOR 2, with other products from back in the day, other things that we reference that happened later in the original EU timeline, other things that happened later in the new canon timeline. So yeah, like, you know, they definitely want to make sure we don't directly contradict anything, even within the new canon either. But being 3,600 years before the films leaves a lot of room, right? Like that was why we were BioWare in general, right? What went with the Old Republic direction was to have that freedom in the first place, to be so far separated that it's pretty hard to overlap or cause an issue. So. We're already pretty well protected from that. So like I said, honestly, our day-to-day stayed pretty much the exact same.
So my question is, I wanted to know, do you have any Cantina events planned in the future that might be specific to Celebration? I know one didn't happen this year, bummer of course, but are you planning on coming back strong with another Cantina next Celebration?
So I can't guarantee any specific thing will happen, of course, because the future is very unknown. COVID is still happening, anything could change. But yes, our absolute intent is to have Cantina events again. We love hosting them, we love having y'all there coming to them, we love chatting with y'all when we hold them. So yeah, it is our fervent desire to do another one as soon as it's safe to do so. I've talked with a few people about it here, right? Like when we were gonna book this one, it was like right when Omicron happened, and we're like, getting a bunch of people in a room, no mask drinking, I don't know about that. So we decided to hold off. But yeah, so hopefully by the time there's another celebration, I haven't heard yet if they've announced yet. Hopefully we can. But yeah, no firm guarantee of anything yet.
Hello. So I was just wondering, is there any possibility for like a future feature to be able to modify the color of certain mounts in the game?
So as in like the paint job on your mount? It's not something we're working on at the moment, because we certainly, you know, we've had a lot of cases where we release different colors, and sometimes they have slightly different models even, or texture going on. So it's not something we're working on at the moment, but I think it would be really interesting for sure. I feel like the customization of yourself, your mount, your mini pet, all that is such a key part of the game, right? Like it's one of my favorite parts. So I will pass that on.
If you could add anything to the game, like money no problem, what would you add? Personally, more pets.
Oh man, I don't even know. Like
Caravan stronghold.
Caravan stronghold. I've seen a lot of desire for a Sith stronghold. That would be cool. More Sith themed, like German bosses. Oricon. I know Oricon. But I mean, those are all very doable things. And you said no budget is no object. Geez, I don't know. Do you have something, Ashley? Do you have a quick answer? I don't know. Like.
I mean, you could pick something simple.
There's nothing simple that's past our budget. Anything past our budget would be something insane. You know? All right, here you go.
Photo mode.
Oh, yes. I would love that.
Yeah, it's something that I feel like, especially because our game is so visual and cinematic, that getting any extra time to get really nice shots of your character and be able to pose the camera and really get to see them in a different light that isn't just the cutscenes that we make, but stuff that y'all make and tell your own stories through that, yeah, that would be my favorite thing.
I'll say, I don't know that it is past our budget. We haven't gotten it done. I love, are you familiar with the Dragon Age Keep that they did for Dragon Age 3? I think that is awesome, and SWTOR would really benefit from something similar to that would let you construct your character's backstory, or edit it, or see it as you play in a lot more detailed, more granular way, and then, you know, kind of an expansion of that kind of legacy screen, right, but with a lot more detail, a lot more stuff to drill into, I think would be really cool to do. And because I think it'd be cool to do, we might do it. I don't know. We'll see.
Is there any plans to be able to rewatch the cutscenes that you went through in previous expansions? Because I know you could replay, example, Eternal Empire and Eternal Throne over and over again to go through and try to make as many of the options and decisions as possible. But I wanted to see if I could one day be able to go to the beginning and just see a whole entire video of what I was able to do.
So probably not exactly the way you're picturing, because the way our cinematics work, they aren't pre-rendered in any way, right? So you need to be in that place at that time with your character, making those choices as they go, right? So to generate that, we would have to actually be recording you as you play and have it going onto your computer somewhere. So I guess that would be one way to do it, kind of exactly the way you're presenting. But yeah, that would add up over the years. As hard drive space improves, hopefully we will be okay. But no, I think being able to replay class stories, being able to replay other content that isn't currently replayable is definitely a request we see a lot, and something we're interested in figuring out some route to do it. The way chapters were constructed was very different from how we made that stuff way back in the day, so it lended itself much more cohesively to being replayable, the same way that flashpoints, right, have always been replayable. So it's not trivial, but we know it's something everyone would like, and we would like to. So no promises, but we'd like, that'd be cool. There you go.
Hello. You talked earlier about making sure that all the stories that you guys write and develop for the game sort of weave together. I was wondering if you might talk a little bit about how you choose which stories come in and at what points they come in.
As a Star Wars nerd and tyrannical dictator, it's really just whatever I want. I just rant. I'm like, I don't know, that'd be cool. Let's do that.
No. Charles is so supportive in getting our entire team to be like, I have this cool idea, can we do this? And he's like, yeah, let's try it, or let's see how that fits into it. But no, it is incredibly collaborative, tyrannical.
Yeah, so, we always have some general ideas about where we want to take the story, big story beats or moments that we want to happen down the road, right? You could probably guess that we have big plans for Malgus in the next few years. You could probably guess that we have some big plans for Mandalorians like Hedekol and Shay Vizsla in coming years, coming updates. So we'll always want to pay off those storylines that we've kind of started and initiated. That one in particular, we actually have worked out. I've had the awesome opportunity to sit in a meeting with the story group directly and plan the whole Malgus storyline that we've got going on. So there's so much that we're going to get to build up and pay off there that I'm so excited for y'all to see over the next couple of years. But and then a lot of it is, like you said, it really is actually very collaborative. I like to look at what y'all are saying in terms of planets. Great example, Manan, actually. Originally, Legacy of the Sith was going to be on that planet was going to be a totally different planet that we were going to make. There was going to be a new creation entirely, a totally new, different place that had never existed in Star Wars before. But the basic premise was going to be the same. It was going to be a fight over an important resource. And so as we were we had some cool concepts, we had some good ideas for it that we were exploring, but I kept seeing so many players being like, man, I want to go back to Manan. Man, I want to go back to Manan. Manan is so cool. And I thought, well, why not give the people what they want? Let's go back to Manan. And then so I talked it over to the art team. They're like, yep, we have so much cool Manan stuff, but it would be so exciting to build more. The world designers were like, oh, let's build stuff that's on the surface of the ocean, like at the bottom under in a dome. Like that would be something totally new and different we've never done on Manan before. That would be really fun. Someone was like, hey, I'm going to have the progenitor eat a spaceship, right? It just all really came together. And so Manan actually made way more sense and fit the story better, so that's what we did. But yeah, that just started from a general, let's check back in on the war and see how things are going between the Republic and the Empire and where that's kind of moving. And then it gets fleshed out from there. One more thing.
I think it's also because we have such a wealth of characters too, and everything feels like a really big, living, breathing world. And when there are characters that we haven't seen for a bit, or they have stories that we want to continue telling, it's kind of like a toy box of being able to reach in and be like, oh, this character would be great for this, and get to explore their stories a little bit further. So we are building on the wealth of story and character and world, and it literally feels like a playground. It's great.
Hey guys, thanks for coming in here again. First question, when will we see Moscow again? Because I really miss him. I'm sorry. I love Eric. Everybody does, I guess. Been playing since 2011. Anyway, the second is like KOTOR remake is coming. Are we going to see any Mitra Surik, anything with the companions, any KOTOR, like maybe a hat to that storyline? Anything planned that way?
For Musco, I will say you should just harass him on Twitter. That's always the solution. I can't speak to his schedule, but we all love Musco, and he's still around. A little more behind the scenes, but still a key part of the team. In terms of KOTOR remake, so obviously we don't work on that at all. That is a completely other team, so I can't really speak to what's going on there. Other than that, I'm very excited about it, as I'm sure you all are too. We haven't really, don't really have anything specific to talk about in terms of what we might do. Obviously, we don't want to try to be doing stuff at the exact same time. I wouldn't think. I'm speaking off the cuff here. This isn't representing official positions, but I think obviously we're in the same era. We have a lot of content already that refers to that. So, and we have a lot of friends over on that team. So, but we'll see.
Following up on the KOTOR question, there's one planet standing out that we've yet to see in the game. Any hope of Kashyyyk ever coming into SWTOR? We're missing our Wookiees.
I think we have more than one Wookiee lover on the team as well, I would say. As much hugging Wookiees as you've all had to do, you can guess. So no specific things to announce yet, but who doesn't love Wookiees? Who doesn't love Kashyyyk? Building those gigantic trees and cities among them, and then going down, seeing what the Darklands. Am I getting that right? The surface. Yeah, and it would be so cool to do our own rendition of that and explore what that's like in our world. So that would be cool. But nothing to say yet.
So I've been running around trying to get old copies of most of the SWTOR books. But one thing that I've kind of noticed that is missing is a good all book. There's the original one and stuff. Are there any plans or ideas to potentially release a new one, especially with some of the cool concept art? I would love to see that personally.
No plans currently. I would love to do that. I know the artists would love to do that. It's not really up to us. It's within the publishing side of Lucasfilm and their publishers that they work with, whatever kind of fits their schedule and plan their grand strategy. So I couldn't say one way or the other if it ever would happen, but certainly we would be game to contribute, because there's so much great art in the game and so much great stuff. I would buy a whole book of just Mech Shaw stuff personally.
So I'll admit, I pre-ordered this game originally. After KOTOR, obviously you say it's different teams, but it's in the same family for sure. And when I pre-ordered this, I had all these plans of this is gonna be my main, this is gonna be, and as you've said before, it's such a fully fleshed out living world. I on paper was a sorcerer. And I thought it was really funny how after I played through all the character stories, made all the characters, I'm a bounty hunter. I'm a merc in the end, I finally discovered. And I just thought, given you've probably had much more fleshed out experience learning about all these characters as the creators of most of it or all of it. What was your original, this is what I am, and did you find yourselves to discover that you're actually something else? You're a merc at heart when you thought you were a sorcerer. So I was very surprised to find out what my main ended up being, and I'm just curious if which character do you identify with, and did it change from your initial identification?
So I started with Trooper, and I pretty much stuck with it. But one of the things I really enjoy about SWTOR is that it is not just who I am as my main person, but more that I get to explore different facets of myself. For example, I never thought I would enjoy playing a dark side character, and then I decided to try a Sith warrior, and it was incredibly cathartic. Just a license to be evil around evil people, and it's like I don't feel that's who I am in real life at heart, but that's one of the joys of video games, is that you get to explore different parts of yourself. So I think at heart I'm definitely a trooper who breaks the rules a little bit, but yeah, I just stuck with that and then tried everything else.
It's funny. I mean, so I before launch, my main role was writing the trooper story. So certainly, I was like, I knew I was going to play a trooper crew, but I was also eager to play all the other ones, right? Because it was like, like you were saying earlier, it's like you've seen your own stuff for forever. I don't know if you know any writers, but none of us actually want to see our own things. We're all just deeply ashamed of everything we've ever done. So it was really fun to play other things. My main since launch, I played a Focus Guardian for a long time, many hours. Really liked Focus Guardian and the Jedi Knight story. It was really hard to pick between the male and female Jedi Knight. I feel like I love both those actors as people. I love both of their work in the game specifically. So I've done a little bit of both. And then lately, what I've really been into is, thanks to combat styles, I really love the smuggler story. Like that's one of my favorite storylines in the game, and I love smugglers. And I've been dressed up smuggler-ish all weekend. But I was never super into the smuggler playstyles for me personally, actually. So now with combat styles, I could play a merc, smuggler, and live my best life, just throwing lasers and missiles everywhere. And then as soon as I get into a scene, it's quips and flirtation everywhere, and it's just it's everything you could ever want.
With the additions to combat styles and 7.0, is there by any chance a possibility that we're going to get a new class, or basically a third spec, I would say?
Yeah, so you can definitely, if you've been around for a while, or if you have any familiarity with game development, infer that a big motivator for combat styles was to separate the combat styles from the original class storylines, right? Because ever since we started this game, we have never been able to add a new class, because adding a whole new class would mean all that, we need a whole storyline for that. And there was never really one whole, like storyline-wise, there was never something that we felt like, yes, absolutely, that would be the best, biggest, coolest thing we could do, and would absolutely justify all of that work. So there was never like another like type of character, right? Like a trooper, smuggler, bounty hunter, Sith warrior, right? Those are so iconic, and nothing else quite seemed to get there for us. So we just kind of always held off. But now with combat styles, in addition to letting me be my merc smuggler, it also lets us add new combat styles without needing to have that whole extra storyline. So I'm not announcing new combat styles here yet, but we could do it now. And we did a whole lot of work to make that happen, so seems like it could. Wink, wink.
So with the closure of Onslaught and every previous expansions, what would you say was your biggest lesson with your biggest learning, like throughout pretty much the entirety of the game?
Man! Dang!
Use that thing. Oh, there you go.
Sorry.
Man, we are going big for the end one here. All right. The biggest learning ever in all of SWTOR.
You don't have to answer this.
No, I'm trying to decide what it would be. I think so. Some of it's gut. So y'all can let me know here. When we were looking back, especially after we finished Fallen Empire, right? Like we were so proud of the work in Fallen Empire and Eternal Throne. We thought it was awesome. We made so much story so quickly. It was insane. But the game obviously played a little differently there, right? Like the content was structured in a different way. We focused on some things more than others. And I think after that, we really did. We actually took some time to think like, okay, we've done at that point four story expansions, and then Strongholds and Starfighter. But we kind of did, yeah. We kind of said, okay, well, which of these did we like the best? Which of these did we feel like players like got the most, you know, the experience that they wanted the most across everything? And so for us, we kind of felt like it was Shadow of Revan. We felt like Shadow of Revan hit a lot of the different points. It had kind of a little bit of everything, and so that's what we've been trying to kind of follow, and the structure that we try to do going forward. So I don't know if that's the number one learning in general, but I would say, you know, we really, looking back, we felt like Shadow of Revan was definitely a high point in terms of how we built it and what we built. And so we're always, I think, going forward, you can expect more structure like that.